Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our, as usual, scheduled Monday morning market review with yours truly, Ian Giffen. I don't think today is going to be a very long one. I'm sure you'll agree with me. Certainly, the way the market looked last week, it turned out to be one big, fat, nothing burger. And we'll run through some of these charts. If you have any questions for me, please do chuck them into the chat box. And if you're watching the recording, then you're welcome to put anything into the comment section below this. All right, so getting going, as always, starting off with the Euro US dollar. Still very flat. You'll see it just came back and up to this, or near this resistance level, and spent the whole of last week basically just floating around at that level. So absolutely nothing going on here. So I'll just run through the first few, the majors and the minors, for us to have a quick look at. The pound we did also look at briefly last week. There was a little bit more happening here. Also, just again looking at our weekly time frame, that's very much in a sideways pattern over there, very much inside of the channel. But we did look at potentially going for a long trade here at the beginning of last week, as you will recall, and that got some distance towards our take profit. But if you were trading the stop using the 3-6 rule, then you probably got stopped out for a break-even trade on Thursday, which is a bit frustrating, of course, because as you can see, today it's going back towards that take profit level. So yeah, that's just the way it goes. An imperfect world, as always. All right, the dollar yen still nothing. It has come down, of course, last week, and it closed below a preceding support level, which is quite indicative. But we don't have anything else here. We're still very much inside of our channel and our WM patterns. There's nothing there either. Dollar Swiss, just a mirror image, as always, of the Euro USD. Well, not as always, but certainly it's looking that way at the moment. And likewise, it's just been floating sideways. USDCAD, same thing. Nothing to look at there. Aussie USD, likewise, still up against that resistance level, but can't say anything more than that. And then the last of the miners, the Kiwi. Still the New Zealand dollar being basically the strongest of the currencies across the 7 main currencies or 8 main currencies that we actually look at. That being said, though, last week, even though it did move further up, it did it in a very staid fashion and didn't really do much for us. So yeah, certainly when it comes to this pair over here, that strength didn't show itself much, but there is one pair where the Kiwi did do something, which we'll get to just now. Before I do that, Moon has asked a question. H4 impulse stop loss management. A second trade, an uptrend, has a higher entry in stop loss than the first trade. Yes, certainly. And the stop loss of the first trade, we reached the same level as second. Muna, that's actually a scaling in rule that you're asking about there. In principle, yes, you can do that. But that's really for a scaling in approach, which is a strategy for strategies. You certainly can do that, but then it needs to be part of your rule set. Okay, you need to do it consistently. But having said that, yes, you can. All right, in principle. All right, so the yen crosses. Likewise, nothing of real interest to us. We spoke about, actually, we just go back one quickly. GBP yen last week, because we had a valid W pattern, but it didn't go anywhere. So it's also just spent the whole of last week doing nothing. Looks like there's a little bit of strength creeping into the pound this morning, but it's still early in the day, let alone early in the week. Swiss yen likewise tested a support level there. We did get a close outside of the channel last week, Wednesday, which was interesting to note, but since then, absolutely nothing's happened. So, yeah, still potentially looking at this for a channel trader, if we get potentially a resumption of a bearish move here, but nothing at the moment. CAD yen, very well, absolutely nothing as we've seen for the last while. Same with Aussie yen. You know, we did have a W pattern there before that we spoke about beforehand, but it just rolled over through the course of last week, which shows us that it's not worth anything. It didn't go anywhere. Kiwi yen, again, you know, we spoke about the New Zealand dollar strength, but against the yen, that means absolutely nothing. We did have that potentially that breakout above that preceding resistance level. Likewise, it was a valid W pattern, but also went absolutely nowhere through the course of last week. It's just chopping sideways. And, you know, in markets like this, you know, where you had an entry, you're likely to have been stopped out on it, and that's fine. And really, it's about being grateful that you can actually get out of the market for a small loss when nothing's actually transpired, and wait for more information. Moving on to the euro crosses, euro GBP, you can see again a bit of GBP strength here against the euro, but likewise nothing actually tradable for us. Euro Swiss never really tradable, but completely flat for the last couple of weeks after that bullish surge with the post-election news. EURCAD, nothing. Euro Aussie again, likewise that M pattern that we were potentially looking at turned into absolutely nothing. Yeah, you can see that slight New Zealand dollar strength also here in this bearish movement. Now, this is actually still an intact bearish wave, similar to the fact that on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, we've got an intact bullish wave. This is still a trend, all right? Our cyclicity is still intact. We have a valid M pattern, and we are outside of our channel. So all of this is, in fact, valid, and we should be looking to trade this in a bearish direction with our lower time frame. So I'm not looking at anything on the weekly, but this is the first one, I think, where we actually had an outside close on the weekly time frame. So last week's candle closed outside of the channel. So if you're a channel trader, then on the weekly time frame, you're saying a potential trend with that breakout. And of course, you guys should know what that means for the daily impulse strategy. All right, so we're basically looking for a bearish impulse wave. We did not get it on Friday, but you know, we need to wait and see. If we get a bearish impulse candle during the course of this week, that is a setup for a bearish daily impulse. Anyway, I'm not supposed to be talking strategy now. It's not the focus here. It's really just looking to use our technical analysis methodologies to identify where we are at in the market's life cycle, probabilistically, of course. All right, so moving on to GBP crosses. Once again, you know, you've noticed that there is a bit of strength in the pound. So here you can see that as well, but likewise, there's nothing tradable for us at the moment. And here on GBPCAD, again, a bit of that strength. We did have a close outside of our four-wave channel on Friday. So you guys may well already be in a lower time frame trade here. Certainly this morning. Well, in fact, on Friday, we had that candle close as an impulse candle. Remember, one of the sort of nuances I teach on the H4 impulse is that you really want to try and get in as soon as possible after a retracement on this time frame. So the first impulse candle after retracement, saying in theory that would have been this one, which in fact was the candle that closed at 8 p.m. on Friday. Not a great time to be jumping into a lower time frame trade, of course, but that movement has resumed this morning. So keep an eye on this one. That GBP strength showing itself a little bit there, but certainly we are outside of that channel. It's not valid as a W pattern because we did get a close, a C close that was inside the XA leg. GBP Aussie, right, nothing, absolutely zero inside the channel and no WM pattern. And here GBPNZD, the reason I just wanted to sort of pause on this briefly is that the pound and the New Zealand dollar at the moment are showing probably the greatest strength across all of the currencies that we're looking at. And that's visible in this indication of correlation over here, where you can see that through the course of last week, basically it just went absolutely sideways. Right, so moving on to our other crosses. Nothing on CAD Swiss, nothing on Aussie Swiss, nothing on, I beg your pardon, Aussie CAD. This is both a valid W pattern for this morning, and it is also obviously a valid from a channel point of view, because we are outside of the 4-wave channel. We isolated either of these lows, if you like. Certainly you could say that that looked like it was isolated with that impulse candle on Friday. So this potentially also looking at this for lower time frame entry, but there has not yet been a final selection criteria met on the lower time frame. But do keep an eye out for that. Let's see if anything happens there. And this is the one where we had probably the most action last week. This is the weekly time frame, of course. So first thing, just looking at the week ahead, we've had an outside close here for on a weekly time frame, and you guys should know what that means. It's a breakout of our channel. So we have at least a potential trend here. We do have intact cyclicity inside that channel as well. So dropping then down to the daily time frame. So from a point of view of the daily impulse, we're looking for the final setup criteria over here, but that's up to you. So if you're using the higher time frame to determine conditions, then you should be looking for your final selection criteria to be met on your execution time frame here on the daily. All right, so that's weekly down to daily. If you're using daily to assess your lower time frames, such as the H4, then, well, that we already had that during the course of last week. We had outside closes, I think, already. Where was that? From Wednesday. So you may well be in a bearish trade on this already. And what else was there? I think that's the main finding here. Unfortunately, it's not a valid M pattern because we had an inside C close. But I think we discussed that already. Yeah, we discussed that last week because that was the preceding Friday. So yeah, last week this rolled over and came down. It's been outside of the channel. It's still outside of the channel. We did have that low test on Friday. So let's wait and see. But at the moment, the New Zealand dollar still showing itself here as being the strongest. And quite frankly, the Aussie dollar is showing itself as one of the weakest at the moment. Not much correlation between these two currencies, when very often there is. Right, so Kiwi Swiss, again, you see the New Zealand dollar here doing its thing. So it didn't do that much through the course of last week. It messed around quite a lot. But it is a valid W pattern, and we are outside of the channel. So likewise here on weekly, we've had an outside close as of last week, Friday. So keep an eye on that one for your final selection criteria, which weren't met on Friday, I don't believe. So let's just have a quick look at this, double check that, 107. So this might well have just been an outside close. So if you're trading the daily impulse, then if I'm right about that being a higher close, I beg your pardon, higher than the preceding date, means that our final selection criteria for the daily impulse was met, and you may well already be in a bullish daily impulse trade here. Finally, QBCAD. Likewise, let's just go to weekly again quickly. So you'll see again that breakout on the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. And again, well, we've now got that bullish impulse candle from Friday's close. So another daily impulse. All right, so that's the currency pairs. So a bit more action, as you can see, this week starting up again, whereas last week was absolute rubbish. Gold, likewise, you can see after we had that drop in the gold price a couple of weeks ago, it really has just been moving pretty much sideways. So there's nothing really for us to look at there. All right, so that's it across those. Of course, I haven't been spending time in these market reviews looking at anything other than the currencies. But I have been asked to spend just a little bit of time looking first of all at the S&P 500. So, of course, we did on the weekly time frame a couple of weeks ago with post-elections and so on. We had this last bullish spike, but it didn't close outside of the channel. So on the weekly time frame, it's actually been stuck there. And since then as well, you can see there's that high test. It's continued to move somewhat higher, but there hasn't been, that much for us to look at over here. So if you were trading this on the lower time frames, you might have had an H4 impulse or two, but I think there was one winner and one loser, if I heard correctly. So not much happening across the indices. The big story, of course, has been the cryptocurrencies. So if you are trading Bitcoin, that's what it's looked like. If you are involved with our mirror trading fund, then you're probably very pleased with yourself, because not only are you invested in Bitcoin, but last week I think we made over 2% on the mirror trading within the member account. So it was a really great week for that. But yeah, I mean, this, as you can see here on the daily time frame, has been a very strong bullish trend. A lot of people are saying, well, it's overbought, it's going to pull back. We don't look to second guess the market. That is not our job. We always, as professional traders, accept the fact that we are trying to dominate over uncertainty, that we cannot know the future, that there's no indicator that will give us the power of a crystal ball. So we're not in it to second guess what's going to continue to happen. If you've been trading this, then it has been the most profitable instrument across the board over the last while, the last couple of months, in fact. So certainly in the last month, it's been great. What can I say? It's been really good. Also, it's one of the things that I'm saying, you folks have heard me talk about it many times, about how important it is to have your capital invested in a hard currency. Well, this is actually the hardest currency at the moment. It's digital gold. JP Morgan, Citibank, more and more of the big institutions are climbing on board, and that's why you are seeing this significant increase here on Bitcoin. All right, so Jan, you're talking about oil there. You can look at all of the oil prices. They're basically saying something very similar. Let's have a look. Oil's sort of been going pretty sideways most of the time. The only oil I look at is seal oil. But yeah, you can see again, we've been very much constrained within a range. We spoke about this a couple of months ago, and we were looking for some kind of a breakout. We had a false bearish breakout, and it's continued to find support at that level, but nothing else. So if you are trading a four-wave channel, then certainly we're looking at a potential breakout now. Let's just blow this up and do a quick review on it. But likewise, last week we saw, quite a lot of choppy action again. Let's just confirm this right here. So that is, in fact, the top of the last 4 waves. So there we go. We're doing a 13 candle plus 1 channel, and it's still inside of that channel. And of course, there's no valid W pattern here either. So that's on the seal oil. I'm assuming that the other oil instruments look something similar. You might already have a breakout on one of them. I'm not sure. If you do, if you've got any outside closes, or if we get one soon, then yes, absolutely. This is looking bullish, or certainly tradable in a bullish direction. All right, guys. So yeah, like I said, normally we have a bit more to talk about in terms of what happened in the previous week, but it fizzled out very early on in the week last week. And as I say, apart from our Bitcoin trading, everything else has been pretty dead. All right, guys. So if there's no other questions, Coco from Muna, certainly, let's have a look at that. Go in the right direction. Ah, yes. Okay, so there you have it on daily. Being very strong, hasn't it? I think, Muna, you said that you were already in it. I'm not sure what strategy it is, but obviously, if you've been in this in a bullish direction, you're doing very well. And if you're using the the channel definitions that we've discussed. We can have a look at that. So this is using a 4-wave historical Donchian channel. There's no valid W pattern, so you'd potentially have to be a channel trader to look at this one. And yeah, absolutely right. So we had the outside close on the channel on Thursday, so Friday potentially a setup. I'm obviously talking strategy again now, and you'd have to look at your own strategies. So remember that on the 4-hour time frame, we look at, for an impulse candle, we look at the last two. So that candle close above that high meant that this technically for H4 purposes was an impulse candle. So you would have entered this market at the open of the following candle. So if you got that, great news. That's very nice. Well done. And if you're using standard targeting, I'm sure you probably hit your take profit. If you're using advanced targeting, then you should still be in this trade. And possibly not even, but close to break even, but maybe not quite. But still, yeah, very bullish, very strong. Probably showing, you know, maybe dollar weakness more than anything else. But yeah, I'm not an analyst on cocoa, so I couldn't tell you. Anything else, folks? All right, cool. Good. All right, well, keep going. The challenge is far from over. One very important announcement regarding the challenge, and please look out for an email in this regard, is I've been talking to the broker, VantageFX, about ensuring that your demo accounts last for 2 months instead of the usual one. Unfortunately, they have not been able to get around the technical issues on that. You do need to open, you don't need to fund, but you do need to open a live account with VantageFX, please. Just open the account. You don't need to put anything in it, but open the account and then request from them to keep your demo account going. So you need to just ask them to not cancel the account after 30 days. So they will do that if you open a live account. All right, so look out for the email on that as well. Very important. Otherwise, all of your hard work is going to go down the drain. So apologies for that. The broker previously indicated that they would be able to make an exception for us, but unfortunately, that has not happened. We haven't been able to get that right. All right, good stuff, guys. So remember, when trading, successful trading is as much about not losing too much in bad periods as it is about making money in good periods. So you're always looking to limit your downside when the going is tough, which it has been. It's been difficult. It certainly is one of those times which really separates the sheep from the goats. So if you've struggled with it, it's a valid and valuable learning period for us. Okay, so if you've learned that lesson in the last couple of weeks with relatively tricky market conditions, then it certainly has served its purpose from my point of view in helping you to become a successful trader. All right, guys, that's it from me. Enjoy the trading for the rest of the week. I'm going to be talking to a few of you through the course of the week, I believe. So yeah, as I say, enjoy, God bless, and I'll chat to you guys later. Bye for now.